my friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, my name's Amanda. I'm really excited to be bringing you beef birria tacos today along with the consomme. This is a super easy recipe. It does take a bit of time, so I'll warn you about that, but otherwise it's so easy, so delicious. So let me show you these tacos. So I want to show you just how yummy these tacos are. You can see that cheesy goodness in there. We're going to just dip it in the broth, and that broth is just going to drip off. So delicious. So now that you've seen just how delicious these tacos and the consomme look, let's get into this recipe. Go ahead and give me a like if you're excited to see how to make these. And if you like food content like this and you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss out on any more delicious recipes. So we're going to get started by kind of de-seeding our chili peppers. So these are some dried New Mexico and California chilies. And I'm just taking out the seeds in the middle. You want to make sure to get those out because they will add bitterness to your consomme. So I also kind of pull out this little membrane type thing that's in there and get that out as well. That way it gets any of that what could possibly be bitter out of there. So we're just going to do all these. It actually, you need about 12 of these chilies. So I did 6 of each. And I've already pre-seeded some of them. I just wanted to show y'all how to do that process. You're just going to make sure to get all those in there. Shake them out. You can usually hear them in there. And then once you've got them all, we're going to take them and get them all rinsed off. Because sometimes you will find a little bit of debris on them and things like that. So we're going to rinse them really well. And then once those are rinsed, you don't even have to dry them or anything like that. You can just set them to the side and we're going to get started on our veggies. So I've got 2 onions here that I'm just going to chunk up. You're going to actually want to fish some of, well, we leave some of them in there, but because my daughter likes them in there just whole, but typically you would chunk them up and blend them in a mixture here in a little bit. So it depends on whether you plan to leave them in there or if you plan to blend them. If you plan to blend them, you definitely want to leave them in larger chunks so it's easier to find them when you put them in the blender. If you kind of want to leave them in there, you could cut them a little smaller if you wanted to too. And then we're going to cut up 10 carrots, and you're just going to make these in kind of, chunks again too on this. Now, I will say that typically speaking, I use more than 10. 10 is kind of what the recipe had mentioned, but I actually like to use extra. So to me, the carrots are a part of the best part of that consomme. I really enjoy those. I only had 10 on hand this time, so that's what I did. Now this recipe has been adapted from a recipe from Views on the Road. I'll have their channel linked below as well as her video for her version of this too. So now I'll link my blog post where I have published my adapted recipe on there, and then that way you'll have access to the whole recipe too. So we've just got a chuck roast here and some beef bone. And we're going to sear that chuck roast in a stock pot. Now, this is an 8-quart stock pot, so you do need a good size stock pot. I've just got some oil that I've heated in there, and I'm going to sear both sides. I feel like this really helps develop flavor, so it's just a step. It's a little additional step, but I feel like it's worth it. And like I said, we're just going to do both sides. Once that's done, we're just going to remove that from the pan and set it to the side. Then we're going to add in our bones and sear those, and just make sure you sear those on both sides as well. That way they get good and toasty. And like I said, again, adding that flavor, kind of layering those, all that good yumminess from everything in there. So just go ahead and get those done. Those are frozen from where I get them. So it might depend on, you might have somewhere that sells them fresh or something like that too. But adding the bone is going to add richness to your consomme. It's going to make it just very, very rich, really. I mean, it has such a good flavor to it. So again, that's a step I do not recommend you skip. And if you at all can get a hold of the beef bones, definitely add this to it. It makes it so good. And then once those have seared, we're going to add that meat back in the pot. And we're going to start adding everything we need to make this delicious consomme. So like I've said before, this is time consuming. You will need to cook this for a while. It needs to be a day that you're going to be home and that type of thing. She also has a way to cook it in the crock pot, so you can also do that. But you've got the carrots going in here, the garlic, onion. We're going to also add in those chilies and some bay leaves. I use 8 bay leaves. And of course, again, like I mentioned, 12 of the chilies. So I'm getting those in there. And now we're going to start adding the water. Now with the water, you want to basically fill it pretty full. You want to get everything pretty good and submerged. And I don't measure how much that is. It's probably going to be 16 to 18 cups, somewhere in that area. But I just do it until there's about an inch or two of space, a couple inches probably of space left at the top. And then I just kind of make sure everything gets into the water. Now you're going to need to watch this and keep an eye on it. You may need to replace water as time goes through, just because it may evaporate down some. So just keep an eye on it. If it looks like it's losing too much water, just add some more. It'll still be just fine. So I've also got some chicken bouillon powder that I'm putting in here. I've got 3 tablespoons. Again, this is something that you can add more or less of, and you could, obviously, this is the only recipe I've ever made for birria, so you could, add whatever you like to it, flavors that you want to do. This was just based off of what what they made on the views on the road, so I just kind of, pretty much did most of what they did. So now, once it's boiled for a little while, you're going to start skimming the impurities off the top. You're going to make sure to do that so that your broth is nice and clear and is not, doesn't have any of that stuff in it. So it really is a simple step. The skimmer thing makes that so simple. So definitely do that and get that all off there. And again, like once it's cooked for a while, about an hour and a half, we're going to pull all those chilies out and the garlic out. And then we're going to also, this is the time where you would add the onion in there if you want to blend that up. I add a few pieces of onion, but for the most part, I leave the onion in there. And then you're just going to blend these really well together, and it's going to make kind of almost like a paste of sorts. And then once that gets fully blended, we're going to add that back in the soup. Now, be careful with blending hot stuff. Some blenders, it can not go so well. So mine handles it just fine, but just be careful and make sure that, especially when you're opening it back up, just in case it, might splatter you or anything like that. So keep an eye on that. And of course, you're going to want to add just a little bit of that broth to it to help it blend well into that paste. And I love my Ninja. It's such a handy tool. You've probably seen me use it in other videos. It definitely works well for us, and it blends this great. So you're just going to want to blend it pretty well, get it really good, and like I said, almost into like a kind of a paste, but it's not quite that tight. And then we're going to add that back into the pot. And if you want to, I actually was able to get most of mine out of there, but definitely you don't want to waste any of that. So if you have any trouble getting it all out, go ahead and put a little bit of your broth into your container and kind of swirl it around and get it back in the pot, because you want all that chili goodness and that garlic goodness to go back in that pot, because it's going to add all that flavor to your consomme. So now I'm curious, how many of y'all have tried birria or birria tacos? Let me know down in the comments. I had never had it until I saw them make it on their YouTube channel, and once I saw it, I knew I had to have it. So I was so excited to make it for the first time. This is probably my 3rd or 4th time making it now. This is a delicious recipe, so I can't even recommend it highly enough. It's so good. Now, once we've got that chili all back in there, we just cover it and we're going to let it simmer for a little longer. So now we're going to get started on the chili oil. I've got a half a cup of oil in that pot, and then I'm adding in some dried chilies. It's a powdered guajillo chilies, and then I've also got some powdered bay leaf, Mexican oregano, some salt, pepper, sugar, garlic powder, all that good stuff. You want to get the oil to about 290 to 300 degrees, so use a thermometer to do that, because you could actually burn this oil and it won't taste very good if you do that. So once it gets to that, you can kind of go ahead and add in your ingredients, and then you pull it off the heat so it doesn't just continue to get hotter and hotter, and get it all good and mixed together. This is going to be what we actually kind of fry our tacos with. So it's going to add lots of delicious flavor. I've also sprinkled just a little bit of chicken bouillon powder in there as well, and then mix that really well, make sure it gets good and dissolved. And we're going to sit that to the side and kind of move on to the next step. So that's ready for us. Now our broth, or our consomme, has cooked. We're going to check and see if our meat is tender. You want it to be falling off the, well, not on the bone, it's not on the bone, but you want it to be falling apart tender. So as you can see, this is, so it's ready to come out. I'm just going to remove that from the pot. Now, me personally, I can't eat like the fat in meat. It just grosses me out. That's why I try to always get leaner chuck roast too. If you notice, that was a fairly lean chuck roast. Now, I will say the more fattier the chuck roast, the more it's going to be really tender and fall apart and all that stuff too. So definitely welcome to do however you like on that. But I actually take and shred my meat and go ahead and remove any fat pieces or anything like that in there. And then that way we don't run into that when we're eating it. You're also going to fish out all your bay leaves as well as your bones and set those to the side. That way all you have left is your delicious consomme, and it's ready to get started building these tacos. So we've got our chili oil going in a bowl here. You just need something to kind of where it's going to give you room to dip those corn tortillas in. And we're going to take a corn tortilla, and first we're going to dip it into the consomme, and then we're going to move it to the oil and dip it in that oil. Now you can dip both sides. I believe she does in her video. I just did not today. I went ahead and did just the one side because I feel like that's the side that's getting kind of fried. So I was good with just having the oil on the one side. But you can definitely do both sides if you like. I have done both sides before. So it just adds some really good flavor to it and helps those tortillas really crisp up and get all crispy on the outside. We're going to go ahead and add some cheese on one side. Now, I use quesadilla cheese. I get it at Walmart. It's actually I think the one that Kroger has a different, it must have different cheeses in it because it's not just white. So you could probably also use mozzarella. That would probably work. But we really like the quesadilla cheese, and it's just the Walmart brand. And then we're adding in some of the meat. And then again, you can add as much cheese on this as you like, as little meat or as much as, just make sure it closes so you can get it seared on both sides. We're adding in some onion and some cilantro, and then we're going to top that with cheese. And then we're going to kind of fold it over. You're going to cook it on each side until each side gets good and crisp. And guys, it gets so melty and just delicious. Oh my goodness. Like if you've never had a taco like this, you've got to try it. Even if you just do it like without making the beef birria, if you do it as a taco, just a regular taco, it's so delicious. It's just really good. We really enjoy them. Also, be careful about the corn tortillas you choose because one time I made these with a different brand, and I think it might have been the Mission ones or something, but they fell apart on me. So you definitely need a corn tortilla that's going to stand up to dipping it in that consomme and all that stuff too, so that it's good and sturdy. So I'm just going to take you back through that process again. We're going to make one more taco. Now, if y'all like tacos, tell me what your favorite taco is, your favorite toppings, all that good stuff, what you like to eat with your tacos. I think this would also be good with guacamole. I did not make that with this, and I don't know that I ever have actually, but guacamole would be good. Even some cut up avocado, lime. There's all kinds of things that you could do. Some people like put radishes in the consomme as well and eat that. So I tried that one time and it was okay, but I think I liked it better without the radishes. There's so many things, jalapenos, all kinds of stuff you could do. This is just such a delicious meal. And like I said, guys, don't be scared about the time it takes. It really is super easy. It just takes a little bit of time. That's it. You just got to have a little bit of time commitment to it, but it's super simple. So I'm just dishing out some consomme in a bowl here so that I can have that to dip my tacos in. And like I showed you at the beginning of the video, you just dip those tacos in that consomme and eat it. And you top the consomme with whatever you'd like. I did onions and cilantro. Like I said, you could use all kinds of toppings. But this stuff is so delicious. The broth or the consomme is so rich and just, so much flavor. So I encourage y'all to make this. Thank y'all for joining me today. I appreciate it so much. Definitely give this recipe a try, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss out on any more delicious recipes. I hope you have a blessed day wherever you are. See you in the next one.